Hello, I am Pat Gillum Sams, the founder and CEO of the Sistah Covenant. What is the Sistah Covenant? It is a platform for purpose and powerful women to empower and inspire other powerful women of color. Black women are resilient. We nurture the world, our families, our spouses, our children, our communities, the boardroom, and everything in between. But who fills our cup? I often am reminded of when we fly, we're told to put our oxygen mask on first. And that is what the Sistah Covenant is all about. It's a safe space for authentic dialogue between sisters, my friends, your friends, all of our friends coming together for a time such as this. Join me Sunday mornings, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, first, third, and fifth Sundays for the Sistah Covenant, a safe space to laugh a lot, cry a little, and fill your cup. Good morning. Great Sunday morning. What do you think about the new promo? Woohoo! Thought we would change it up a little bit. 16 months in, we're not quite inaugural anymore. We are legitimately here, and we are in Women's History Month, and we are celebrating living her story out loud. I am super excited to be here with you today, and I just thank you all for continuing to go on this amazing journey with us at the Sistah Covenant. Thank you for purchasing your amazing Sistah Covenant merchandise. There it is on the screen. I still love it. Love it. And love all of you. If you have not purchased your merchandise, it is not too late. And as we always do, if you spend over $100, $10 will go to support UNCF, because we know that a terrible thing is to waste a mind. A mind is certainly a terrible thing to waste. We want to again acknowledge the Clara White Mission. The Clara White Mission is located right here in Northeast Florida, and it is an icon in this community. So we want to again lift that institution, the legacy on Ashley Street. So we recently presented them with a check from the Sistah Covenant. And I know that these kinds of institutions are all over our country. So please take the time to connect with these institutions and support them because they are doing amazing work in our communities. You know, here at the Sister Covenant, we are still supporting vaccinations and getting your booster. We are all about empowering our communities, but we have to be safe and continue to be vigilant and wear our mask, social distance, and know who you are around. And we are encouraging each of you to take the 25 challenge. It's simple. Post a picture or video on why you got vaccinated or boosted. Use the hashtags powerful women get vaccinated. Hashtag together we win. Tag 3 of your friends and the Sister Covenant. It's just that simple. Later in the podcast, you will see another video from women, my friends, who are proud to say that they are vaccinated and they are sharing their why. Be a part of our sister circle. We encourage you to join us by opening Facebook on your phone or your computer. Search the Sister Covenant, find the groups tab, click on the group titled The Sister Circle, click Join Group, and you will be a part of our circle. And that is how we will push out information, and you will certainly be in the loop. Now, you know, last month we kicked off our sponsorship campaign. You do not have to be a sponsor of the Sister Covenant to be in the circle, but if you choose to sow a seed in the Sister Covenant, please do. We encourage you to be one of our sister keepers. And you can do that by getting in touch with us at the keepers at thesistercovenant.com for more information on how your business can be elevated and amplified on our platform, on our social media, website, and Facebook, and all of our other pages, but also how we can celebrate empowering women together to continue this platform. Or you can be a sustaining sister and help us continue to be great in our communities. Now, I am so proud as we celebrate Women's History Month to bring to you another powerful woman, a dear friend of mine, that is doing some amazing things in this Northeast Florida community, as she is one of our Sisters Keepers for March.
Greetings. I am Melissa Fulmore Hardwick, CIO and Executive Director and founder of Brown Girls in the Boardroom. Happy Women's Month. March is an exciting time of the year because we get to celebrate the women, the girls, and all of the hard work that we've done. We get celebrated for it, and I absolutely love that. I celebrate the Sister Covenant today. I'm elated to be partnered with such an organization that's doing exactly what gives me the juice, inspiring women and young girls all over the world to be the very best version of themselves, sharing stories month after month, just giving us access to so many great women. I love it. I love it and can't get enough of it. And so during the month of March, we salute each of you. Listen, I'm in the boardroom right now, and I'm just excited about what this organization is doing, Brown Girls in the Boardroom, inspiring young girls to know that she can and she will. Greetings. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm thrilled about what's to come in the lives of these young brown girls. And thank you, each of you who participate, who subscribe to the vision. So again, happy Women's Month. Sister Covenant, thank you for all that you do in the community, in the world at large. I'm Melissa Fillmore. Hardwick, Brown Girls in the Boardroom.
We so appreciate Melissa and all the good work that Brown Girls in the Boardroom is doing to, again, elevate brown girls in this community and give them access to the boardroom. And I want to thank all of our Sistahs keepers that are supporting the Sister Covenant. Brenda Jackson, who was our February Sistahs keeper, of course, Melissa Fillmore Hardwick, Sonia Jackson Miles, and the Legacy Group and the Legacy League, which you will hear a little bit more about later in the podcast, and certainly Today's Dentistry and Sutel Dental. And our sustaining sisters, all of my phenomenal sustaining sisters listed right there for you to see. I thank them and I love them for their continued support. Many of them, if not all of them, you saw in that beautiful opening of the podcast. Thank you all. Now, I am over the moon excited because if you live in Jacksonville, you've heard this name, Ironetta Wright. Ironetta Wright is a native of Jacksonville, Florida, and little shy of 5 years ago, she traveled to Detroit to make a big impact in that community. And she was just recently selected as the superintendent of Cincinnati Public Schools. And she exclusively gave the Sister Covenant the first interview. So I want to share that interview with all of you right now. Help me welcome the next superintendent of the Cincinnati Public Schools, Ironetta Wright. Yay! And you know, I am taking joy in being your first interview since you were appointed.
Yes.
The glory. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing fantastic.
So we found out last night you have to, okay, let's back up because everybody may not know who we have in front of us. So tell us, Ms. Superintendent, give us a little bit of your journey to get to this moment.
Thank you so much. So my name is Ironetta Wright, and currently I serve as the Deputy Superintendent of Schools in Detroit Public Schools Community District. You know, this has been a almost 30-year journey for me. I started the education profession in 1993. I was a math teacher and a special education teacher. I started teaching at Douglas Anderson School of the Arts. Throughout my career, I have served as a teacher, as a principal, as an assistant principal. When I left Duval County, I was the chief of schools. My current superintendent became the superintendent in Detroit Public Schools Community District, and at that time recruited me to come to Detroit as deputy superintendent of schools. It was a difficult decision. It was a challenging decision because at that time also, my daughters were rising 10th and 11th grade students in Duval County Public Schools. And so for them, we had conversation, and with the support of our family, we made the decision that I would commute back and forth and my children would stay at home so they could graduate and stay with their friends. And I would go off into Detroit and do great things for the children of Detroit Public Schools Community District. So it's been almost 5 years that I've been Deputy Superintendent of Schools in Detroit Public Schools Community District. And as of last night, I was voted unanimously as the next superintendent of Cincinnati Public Schools.
Ironetta, that is an amazing, amazing journey. But you've said a couple of key things that, of course, as a mom that lived that journey with you, you talked about those two beautiful, beautiful daughters of yours. So I want to know what they're feeling in this moment. I know it's pride, but tell us how that journey went over the last almost 5 years, because since that time, you've had daughters to graduate from high school, they're in college. Tell us about that piece of it.
It's been an amazing experience as a mother. Not a lot of parents get an opportunity to see what their children would do or how their children would conduct themselves when mom is not around or when dad is not around. And I got an opportunity to see that. So they didn't just stay with anyone. They stayed with their father while I was moving back and forth and going back and forth between Detroit and Jacksonville. I think where it really hit home for me as a mother, of course, you always ask yourself if you're making the right decision, if you're making the right choice. I knew professionally it was the right choice. I always wrestled with whether or not it was the right choice as a mom. And my children would always say to me, and I would always ask them, do you miss me? Do you miss me? And they would say, Mom, you're always here. It wasn't until after they graduated from high school that we really engaged in even more of a conversation. And what I did not know is that my children were in school with mothers who were in the military. So they were gone 6 to 12 months out of the year. They had a lot of friends their parents worked away or they worked out of town. And so they didn't see their parents for 3 and 4 months at a time. So for me, while they were in school, very rarely did they miss a weekend not seeing me. Very rarely did that happen. And so it really allowed me to be an active mother and an active parent in my work with them. They're now both college students. They made the decision to go to Florida A&M University. And it's such a blessing because they, both of them started school where they're a year ahead. So my older daughter is a 2019 graduate, which she should graduate in 2023, but she graduates this year. And my baby girl is a 2020 graduate, but she started ahead. She was ahead as well. So she graduates 2023. So they both graduate a year early. I think when I really talk to them, and we've had a lot of conversation, it's just amazing watching them grow into womanhood. And they shared so much with me. And one of the things that my transition, I would say, coming to Detroit did for them is it removed all excuses and all barriers. And we've talked about over the years, everywhere is about 2 or 3 hours on a plane. So you don't have to be confined. You want to be your best self. You want to be the best version of you. And you don't let anybody use you, abuse you, or tell you anything differently. So when it's time for you to do something different, you do what that different is and know that your steps and your path are ordained by God. When you allow him to lead you, he will never lead you in the wrong direction. So where they are now, it's pretty interesting. So last night I was getting calls and getting calls from a little bit of everyone. And your children always keep you humble, right? So my older daughter called first and she said, okay, so Mom, what does this mean for us? And I said, well, it doesn't really mean a whole lot for you. It just means that instead of me being in Detroit, I'll now be in Cincinnati. She said, so when we visit, and then she stopped mid-sentence. She said, oh my goodness, Mom, I have to call you back. You're trending. So she started putting my name in on Google and realized that the rest of my name came up. So she was excited by that. A couple of hours later, my younger daughter called and she called to ask me a question about something that she had to do that day. And I said, Gabrielle, I thought you were calling to congratulate me. And she said, Mom, I already knew you were going to get the job. So I didn't call you for that. So, excuse me. So this has just been an exciting time for them.
So we share a journey together in an organization by the name of Jack and Jill. So as Jack and Jillers, it's a family, it's a community, it's a village. So I remember those days when you made the decision to move on. And we were all just a little nervous about it. But I remember it being crystallized for me how mature, especially Alexis, had become. One day she had a car issue at church. and she was in the parking lot, and you saw the anxiety on her face. I tried to assist her. Another friend tried to assist her, another adult. And she said, Miss Pat, I will be just fine. Thank you so much. I said, have you called your mother? Are you sure? I've called her. We will be fine. I have the tow truck coming. And in that moment, I saw the maturity. I saw her just a couple of years later at FAMU at a career fair. And it was like I was looking at this little mini me from Ironetta. She had just blossomed. So you're correct. I mean, they step up and they do what they need to do in the moment. So you gave them that. So now you're going to give that legacy or take that legacy to Cincinnati. What's your vision for that, Ironetta? Like you said, you've been working towards this for 30 years. What does that look like for you?
You know, my vision is to make sure that Cincinnati Public Schools is the best school district in the country for our children. Cincinnati currently serves an urban population of children, a population that oftentimes they've been marginalized and they have been left out. And so that is a population that not only have I enjoyed working with, I've thrived working with. And I see all of the possibilities that exist in Cincinnati. You know, one of the things that excited me the most and that has excited me about the opportunity is there is a community that is ready and they're willing to step up and do whatever is necessary to ensure that the children of the district get what they need. And they're looking forward to working with the leader that has a proven track record for success. They're looking forward to working with the leader that has a vision for where we go next. So I bring hope, I bring passion, I bring commitment, I bring a collaborative spirit, and I bring an excitement like you've never seen.
So last question too, because I know you are busy and you have meetings waiting for you. Difference makers, when you hear that term and you think about your 20-year-old self and your 30-year-old self and whoever that woman was in your life, who seeded that into you to be a difference maker? What would you say to your 20, 30-year-old self at this time?
You know, I've had so much time to really process that and think about it over this current search. You know, I've been involved in this search since about November, so it's taken a lot of my time. And I think about, honestly, first it comes to my family. For anyone that's heard the videos that I've done, or they heard the interviews that I did, they heard me talk about my grandfather. You know, I was the oldest of two. My parents divorced when my sister and I were very young. And with me being the older child, I lived in the house with my grandparents. They became a part of my village. Not like we hear often when we start talking to children today. I remember when I was at Jackson, I would tell people that I lived with my grandparents. And then in the next breath, I would talk about the time that I spent with my mother. And they would look at me strangely because many of them didn't have relationships with their parents when they lived in the house with their grandparents. They didn't have relationships with their parents. But I was fortunate. I had a relationship with my grandparents where I lived. I had a wonderful relationship with my mother. I had a relationship with my father. And all of those individuals loved me. They loved me. They loved me and my sister. My grandfather poured into me. I spent a lot of time with him. I was his little shadow. And he was born in 1918. And I, so much of his wisdom, so much of who I am as a leader, it came from him. He was a minister. He was my pastor my entire life. And I just watched the way that he cared for others and the way that he gave of himself. And that was his ministry. And anyone that hears me speak, you hear me say, education is my ministry. So what would I say to my 20-year-old self? I would say to my 20-year-old self what my grandfather said to me. He had passed away by the time I was 20, but I grew up knowing I wanted to be a teacher. I've always been a teacher. I've taught everybody. I always teach. That's who I was. I moved away from it for a period of time because I thought I want to do a little more. I want to make, have a flashy title and all of that great stuff. But my grandfather said to me one day when I was getting ready to graduate from high school, he said, as long as you do what you love, you will never work a day in your life. And so what I would say to my 20-year-old self is follow your dreams, follow your passion, live your life with no regrets, but do what it is that you love. At a time when I was teaching, I had a desire to stop teaching. I wanted to do something different. I didn't like doing cafeteria duty. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something different. And I started doing Mary Kay Cosmetics, and I was very successful. I became a senior sales director in Mary Kay Cosmetics. I drove a red car and then got a pink car. And I left teaching for a period of time. For about a year, I left teaching. But I came back because my heart was in education. I don't have any regrets because the work that I did through Mary Kay, the professional development, the connections that I made, the people that I was introduced to, they really have become a part of my greater network and a part of my ecosystem. So what I would say, which is the same thing I say to my children now, do what you love, because in the end, all the other things will work out, but do what it is that you love. And this is what I love.
So you have at least 30 more years to go. But if you could write your retirement speech today, what would that look like, sound like, and what would your legacy have been?
Oh my goodness. So, you're giving me a question that I haven't thought about yet. I'm just in this new chapter and I don't know that I've thought about the end of the chapter yet. One of the things that gives me just a peek into that has been this experience. The last a little less than 24 hours right now have been surreal for me. And one of the things that I've noticed in that period of time, the individuals that were supporting me from the rafters, the individuals that were praying for me that I didn't realize they were praying for me. And last night I started to get emails and text messages and calls and you name it, from individuals just saying and reaching out, saying to me something that I did for them that I didn't even remember that I'd done, or a way that I had poured into them that I didn't know that I'd done. And so if I was writing the end of the chapter right now, Cincinnati is a premier school in our country. Individuals are coming to the country to learn how we truly do effectively urban education, and how we take the models and examples of what we've done in urban education and take that to any community in this country. At the end of that career, you would see just professionals that have grown in so many different ways, that they have developed. And not only have they developed, but they've developed others. You would see a school district that has become a true community, and that school district is the nucleus of that community. So my retired self would see just the wonderful experiences that we've had along the way, and that we've really had an opportunity to trust the process. Don't get in front of the process. Just trust the process and know that when your steps are ordained, he does the rest. You do the work, let him do the rest.
Well, Ironetta, you have truly been a trailblazer on many levels, and you've definitely been a difference maker here in Duval County, Northeast Florida, and Detroit. I think they would say the same, I feel certain. And Cincinnati, watch out, because they just don't know what is coming forth. So we wish you Godspeed. We are so proud of you, proud as a peacock, as they would say, the old people, of you here in Jacksonville, Florida. And we know you're going to do great things and make a difference in that community as well. Be blessed, my sister.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today.
So proud of her. And she will do great things and make a difference in Cincinnati. Now, I am super excited to introduce a new friend, Ingrid Green Jones. Ingrid is the Senior Corporate Counsel for Pfizer, and she's also a 2021 CEO Action for Racial Equity Fellow with HBCU Solutions. And I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Ingrid just a little earlier this week, and I want to share that conversation with you. Welcome to the Sister Covenant Studio, Ingrid.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. I always say if you get up, you're good, right? At this point in time, we're all healthy.
That's right. That's a blessing in and of itself. Well, what's the weather like there in New Jersey?
Last night it was 24 degrees. Today it might be 35.
So it probably wouldn't be very nice if I told you it was about 68 outside and projected to get close to 80 today. That probably wouldn't make you happy.
It would not make me happy. I'm trying to move out of Jersey because it's so cold. It's so cold.
Well, listen, we are delighted to have you here, and I am just tickled pink to get a chance to sit down and talk to you. You are certainly making a difference in the New York and New Jersey area. So tell us who we see before us. Who is Ingrid Jones? Tell us about that journey that you've taken from Alaska through South Carolina to New Jersey, and how all of that has gotten you to this moment.
Sure. So when you list all the states, I sound like a vagabond, but nevertheless, I think that's funny. I am a mother, a wife, a lawyer. I grew up in Anchorage, Alaska because my parents were in the military. My father was a mechanic in the military. I then went to Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina, which is a historically Black college. Went there because the Black experience I was having in Alaska in 1987-ish, I knew couldn't be correct. It was not what I thought it should be. So going to an HBCU changed my life. And then I got a full scholarship to City University of New York to get a master's degree in public administration, worked for the City of New York for probably 10 years, and then went to law school and have been practicing the law ever since. I have 3 daughters, all HBCU graduates, 2 Spelmanites, and 1 North Carolina A&T or Aggie.
So we're not going to fault you for not picking Hampton as one of the HBCUs.
Well, no, let me just say my goddaughter went to Hampton and she was captain of the dance team.
All right. Very good. We'll take it. My oldest graduated from Hampton just last May. So
Well, congratulations.
yeah, my husband likes to say, because we graduated from Florida State University, which is not an HBCU, of course. So he says that's how I get my HBCU fix through my son.
Get it however you can.
Get it however you can. So let's talk about that. I know you're a corporate attorney for Pfizer, and you've done some amazing things in that space. But the HBCU space, you've been a coach, a mentor, an advocate, a staunch advocate for students pursuing higher education degrees and partnerships with corporations for HBCUs. So tell us about that journey and the impact you've made in that space.
So with both Alpha Kappa Alpha and my church, I coach students through the college process. Let's start there, because a lot of students still are first generation college students. I was a first generation college student. And then when you get to HBCUs, when you know the history and you know that more than 80% of judges get their first degree from an HBCU, more than 50% of lawyers get their first degree from HBCUs, then you see why I do it. Because I always tell parents, it's important for your student to get into college, but it's more important for your student to graduate from college. And HBCUs are nurturing environments that encourage our students to not just begin, but to also finish, which is why I'm such a staunch advocate, because often I tell parents, if your student doesn't graduate, all you did was donate money to the school. That's simply what you did, because you didn't come out with a degree. And that's the whole point. I support them for those reasons and many, many other reasons. At my church, we do what's called college send-off. and we send students off with about $200 worth of college material. So those parents that can't afford it, we take care of it.
So that's powerful. You've said a couple of things, Ingrid, and nurturing is one of them. And we know that HBCUs not only provide a quality education, but the nurturing and the just the sheer leaning in and
Yes.
letting students know you are important and you matter in
Yes.
this space. You can't put a price tag on that. So tell us about that piece of it, maybe for even your daughters, but for you as a parent and as an advocate.
So as a parent, what I have found is that I can reach a college president if I have a problem as a parent. Of course, as a parent, you allow your student to advocate for themselves, and you should teach them to advocate for themselves. But the sheer idea that as a parent, you can have contact with people in the environment that your student is in is important. I don't know if you watched the news lately, but HBCUs have been having bombing threats. Those schools have been very clear with parents and making sure that they know that their student is safe. Yes, other schools might do that, but I'm sure it can't be at the caliber of an HBCU. And then with HBCUs, I often say that that might be the only environment, especially if your student is going to corporate America, that might be the only time that they don't need an affinity group. They are in an environment where they can be themselves. And that in and of itself is nurturing. You don't have to do code switching. And we all know what that is. So you don't have to do any of that. You can just be yourself.
And you made a great point as well. The percentage of judges that have graduated, and lawyers, and doctors, and dentists that have graduated from HBCUs, it has relevance in that you see yourself being successful. You see
Correct.
others that have been successful in that institution, and that's a role model. That's
Yeah.
someone you can aspire to be.
HBCUs created the middle class of Black America. If we just be honest, if you remember, and I'm not dating you, don't know your age, but in 1964, prior to 1964, we weren't readily available to just go to any school, right? So those people that are professionals now, probably at the latter end of their career, more likely than not had some experience at an HBCU. I just think it's just Wakanda. Let's go with it.
So, in addition to being an advocate for HBCU and making sure they're sound financially, you're also a CEO of racial equity within Pfizer. Tell us about that. What
Right.
is
So CEO for Racial Equity Fellowship is a fellowship that was started by Tim Ryan, who was the then president at PwC. And he created it around the time that George Floyd, or after George Floyd's murder. He wanted to have more of an impact in racial equity than just put up the traditional corporate statement that we stand with Black America. And so what he did was he asked corporate presidents to lend him employees to then build out what is now CEO for Racial Equity Fellowship. And that fellowship looks at Black America and looks at the areas where it can make an impact, whether that's policy or social contract, right? And so if we consider health disparities, if you think about health as health disparities, HBCUs, the digital divide, all of these things are truly impacting our communities. With school and COVID, more schools went to the digital platform to be able to get their students through school. But the challenge with that is if you only have one computer in the house and you have two students, how do you decide which student goes to school? If you're a parent with one computer or two computers in the house, you got a couple of kids and you're working from home, how do you make that decision? Who gets to use the computer? Do you have Wi-Fi? So the CEO for Racial Equity is trying to address all of these issues. They will not probably solve all of the problems, but they will advocate for policies that will impact legislation either in HBCUs, which is the Ignite bill to encourage more funding for HBCUs, or other bills on the House level to be able to get more funding to solve some of these issues.
So let's be clear. This isn't relegated just to Pfizer. It's
No.
companies. What other corporations are in collaboration with Pfizer on this?
So it's collaboration with PwC. Pfizer was a participant, and we had 3 fellows, myself and 2 others. We currently have 3 fellows because the fellowship for me was for a year. And now I'm back at Pfizer, but then Pfizer, to its credit, had 3 more fellows go, and they are functioning in different areas of the fellowship. There's, again, PwC, there's US Steel, Denny's is a really big advocate for this program. I'm trying to think of a couple other names. I can get you the list, but it's too many to list out. It's more than 250 companies, Fortune 500 companies that are doing this.
Wow. And you mentioned Denny's, and I just remember some 20 odd years ago when Denny's was on the firing line as far as diversity and lack thereof, and consciousness or not having their lens clear on that subject, and now they're a leader in that space. I think
they're absolutely a leader. They have a phenomenal head of diversity. Her name is April. She is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha, so I know her in twofold, both from the fellowship and Alpha Kappa Alpha. She's exceptional, just simply exceptional.
So tell us about Rising Ground. You're on several boards, but when I read your bio, Rising Ground was intriguing. What exactly is your role with that organization?
So I just started on the board with Rising Ground, but my history with Rising Ground is prior to finishing my law degree, I worked for the city of New York. And one of the roles after law school I had was deputy agency chief contracting officer for the youth department. And in that role, I either created social funding, such as fatherhood. So Rising Ground runs a program called Fatherhood. It's mostly a social service agency, and it provides social services throughout New York City. So if you think adoption, if you think foster care, if you think early childhood, anything that would impact a student or a young person in the New York City area, more likely than not, Rising Ground is involved with it. And so I decided to be on the board because of my history with social services. Prior to even going to graduate school, I was a social worker. So when I first came out of Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina, I lived in a house with students that were either abused or were coming out of gangs in New Mexico. So my heart, my passion, my love is social services. And that is how I ended up with Rising Ground. Honestly, the only reason I ended up in corporate was because the city of New York has a rule that you cannot live outside the city and work for the city.
So I don't know when you have any spare time, but in your spare time, you dabble in real estate. Yes. And that is for...
Yes, so I love real estate. I fell into real estate in my 20s. And so now my husband and myself, my daughters, we buy property more likely than not near HBCUs to provide housing for students, because these campuses sometimes, if you think COVID, they weren't able to house all students, right? And so to make sure students are living in a safe area where they can then finish schools, we do our best to do that. All of our properties are not dedicated to that, but we have one or two in Atlanta that we do house students.
So, Ingrid, we don't have enough time probably to talk about all the impact that you've done. But when you think about your life and you look over your life, not that you're ending it anytime soon, prayerfully not, you have three beautiful daughters. What would you want your legacy to be? And how would you write your epitaph if you could do so?
So, what would I want my lesson to be? My lesson, especially to my daughters, is you can make an impact. One person can make an impact and change someone's life. And you don't really know, you won't always see the benefit of the work you're putting in, but just trust the process, trust God enough to know that He put you on this earth for a reason to make an impact in someone else's life. As far as my epitaph, I would probably say she threw everything to the wall to see what stuck. That really would be it. I literally don't mind trying anything one good time to see if it's something that I fit in. And I think oftentimes we in our communities are apprehensive about trying new things, whether that's dabbling in real estate, sitting on a board, applying for a job that you don't think you're qualified for. Try it all. You never know what door will open for you and then what door you can open for somebody else.
And through opening that door for somebody else, inevitably the door is wide open for
Yeah.
for you, for the entire community, and for your legacy. Those three beautiful
Correct.
daughters. Thank you,
Thank you.
Ingrid. Thank you for the impact that you're making. Thank you for not finding it robbery to do what you do from a heart that's pure. I can see that in your conversation. And thank you for being a part of the Sister Covenant this morning.
Well, thank you again for having me. This was such a joy. I look forward to actually meeting you at one point.
Well, virtual works. I feel like I know people in this space that I'm
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
otherwise. So thank you so much. And I look forward to meeting you face to face as well.
Great. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Just a delightful, delightful woman that is definitely making a difference in New Jersey and all across the world with her HBCU initiative. Now, personal privilege. A few months ago, you had the privilege of meeting some beautiful and bold young women, all 30 and under, and we talked just a little bit about what was to come. It's here now, the Legacy League. And I am so proud to introduce the Legacy League on this platform, the Sister Covenant, because it was birthed out of the Sister Covenant. As you all well know, on the fifth Sunday of every month, where there are 5 Sundays, we feature beautiful women 30 and under that I affectionately refer to as the youngins. And through that contact and through that journey, God gave me the vision to launch a leadership development program specifically, uniquely designed for women of color. And the Legacy League, Inc. was born. So at this time, I just want to share just a little bit about that journey so far. And then on the other side, I'll tell you how you can be a part of the journey. I want to introduce a conversation with Dr. Barbara Darby, the chair of the board of the Legacy League. Hello, Barbara Darby, Dr. Darby.
Hello, Pat Sams.
Thank you so much for sitting down to talk to me today. And we are in a beautiful space that exudes power. And I feel like I'm on purpose and on point here. So let's talk about being a leader and what that means and that journey to leadership.
Yes. Well, leadership is an important opportunity to make a difference. And when one steps into that kind of position, one must come equipped to do it. And even though you come equipped, you have to recognize also your areas of need and try to strengthen those areas. So leadership development programs are an important way of doing that. My God, I have been to many, and I can tell you each one added to my abilities to lead.
So we've embarked on this journey, you and I.
Yes.
Well, I go to the best. What I've learned on my leadership journey over some 40 years of you being my mentor is you surround yourself with greatness. And that is what the Legacy League Inc. is all about. It's not just about my experiences, it's about shared experiences and tapping into powerful women who not only have had their individual journeys, but they're vulnerable enough to share them with young women that are coming behind them.
Oh, absolutely. And when I look at the components of the program and what we are going to do for the young women who participate, providing support, leadership is also a very lonely place to be. And so you have to have people that you know you can go to for counsel, for advice, who will listen. They might not tell you what to do, but they'll just allow you to work your way to the answer that you need. So support is one of the key things that we will be doing in the Legacy League. Mentorship. Oh my goodness, I have had mentors who have made the difference, who opened doors, who chastised me when I needed to be chastised. And all of that rounds up to a stronger individual, leader, person, community servant, whatever that role might be. And then empowerment, helping our young ladies to know who they are and whose they are. Very important, because many times when we are in our organizations, there are those who just don't want us to succeed, who will do any and everything to demean what we are doing. And in those cases, you have to know who you are. You have to be self-confident, and you have to be able to put that stuff aside and keep your eyes on the prize, on the focus. And that's what we want to do and will do for the young women who join us.
Barbara, for me, I'm so excited. And when I called you a few months ago and I just bubbled over, because for me at this stage in my life, it's about being blessed and sharing that. And when we talk about being blessed, people like the pretty and all the good things that come along with leadership and power and rising to the top. But you hit right on it. Leadership can be lonely, but what it can also be is sometimes, depending on the space you find yourself in, people defining what that looks like for you and putting you in a corner or marginalizing you. So for me, these young women that are starting out in their careers, they're powerful, they are intelligent, they are capable, but sometimes they're put in a corner, marginalized, and made to feel as though they're not enough. So this program will surround them with women, as said before, that have journeyed that can help them navigate those landmines to understand that you are enough, but it's the packaging and the presentation that matters.
Exactly. And as you know, I be there and you have a goal, you have a vision, you still have to pursue that. And learning how to navigate around that kind of behavior that tends to want to detract from who you are is very important.
I couldn't agree more. And what I also want to put out there that we don't talk about all the time, everybody in the room, they're not always welcoming you.
That's right.
We're in this beautiful boardroom right now, but unless you can get into the room, you're outside of the door.
That's right.
And not everybody's inviting you inside. So when we talk about women of color, we're talking about diversity. We're talking about diversity of thought, of background, women that bring purpose to their place and know that they need help and support to get to where they ultimately want to be, and unique in a sense that we know there are boundaries in a corporate environment, but you said it best. You have to know whose you are and then understand I may have to pray outside the boardroom.
Yes.
So I'm successful in the boardroom.
And we shouldn't lose sight of the legacy piece of this, because as I look at you, I've known you for over 40 years. And what I have observed is that your journey has been about giving back. Mm-hmm. And here you are, giving back, having gone on a journey in corporate America. You realize and recognize that there is something you can give back to those coming behind you. That's leaving a legacy. And so that example models for these young ladies the importance of giving back and recognizing that it's not all about them. It's not all about them. So I am excited and I'm looking forward to the journey together, but more importantly, I'm looking forward to seeing these young women in the future doing great things similar to what you are doing.
Legacy leaders for life.
For life.
Thank you, my friend.
I love you.
I love you. So for more information about the Legacy League, I invite you to contact us at thelegacyleagueinc.org or send us an email at leaders@thelegacyleagueinc.org. Please share this with women of color 30 and under that are special to you, as well as your companies, your corporations, and individuals that want to go on this journey of educating, inspiring, and empowering our next generation of leaders. Wow, my heart is full. This has been a wonderful day, and I can't wait for 2 weeks from today when we continue part 2 of living her story out loud. So you don't want to miss the stories that are coming up. So grab a sister, a neighbor, even your significant other, and join us in 2 weeks for the Sister Covenant, part 2 of living her story out loud. Now, as always, I want to share a powerful PSA around why some of my dear friends got vaccinated. I want to thank all of our sponsors, but always I want to say to all of you, continue to be bold, be brilliant, be brave, because you all are so very beautiful. and be blessed.
Hello there. I am here to let you know why I got vaccinated. I got vaccinated to inoculate my immune system. Did you get that? I want to make sure I am doing my part to make sure that we are safe, that all of us are healed, and that we are not infecting one another. So I still mask up, I still wash my hands, but I am part of Powerful Women Together. We win. In this moment, if you have not considered, I want you to reconsider, remain vigilant, and get vaccinated. It's that simple.
Greetings. My name is Nakia Wright. I'm a candidate running for office in Prince George's County, Maryland. I'm here today to tell you that I am fully vaccinated. I chose to get vaccinated because my legacy will not die with COVID. While the vaccination does not prevent you from catching COVID, it does lessen your chances of dying. The one thing that I learned is that powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we win.
Hi, everyone. I got vaccinated because I am a minister. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a sister. I'm an aunt. I'm a friend. All of these relationships are extremely, extremely important to me. Next to God, these relationships I value more than anything. And getting the vaccine helped me to preserve myself and my family. All of my family is vaccinated, and I thank God for that. But the unvaccinated population is what's causing the rise of the deaths of COVID. Children are dying now, and that saddens me to no end, because our children are now being affected because of those that are not vaccinated. So I implore you, I urge you, I pray that those of you that are not vaccinated, do it for your loved ones, do it for your family, do it for your friends, do it for yourself. That's the only way we're going to eradicate this virus, is by everybody that can getting vaccinated. If you're unsure, talk to a medical professional, do the research, but don't let theories stop you from becoming a vaccinated person. Powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we win.
I am a wife, mother to 4 adult children, and nana to 9 grandchildren. My husband and I decided to get vaccinated early because our family is our world. We wanted to make sure our family and our children were protected. So we decided early to get vaccinated. However, some of my adult children did not believe or see the need in getting vaccinated until my youngest child and only daughter, mother of 2 beautiful children, was suddenly stricken with COVID. She was hospitalized for 2 weeks, battling for her life, at the brink of ventilation. We are a strong family of faith. We had family and friends praying all across the country. We are so grateful to the wonderful doctors and medical personnel that helped her to recover and leave the hospital. Her message after that horrific experience to all of her contemporary 30-somethings was simple. You don't want to go through this. COVID is no joke. Get vaccinated. That's why we promote vaccination. Powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we can meet this moment and win.